Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're here today to look at the new Predator movie trailer. It's going to be debuting on Hulu. It will not get a theatrical release, which is already kind of a bad sign. I think y'all will want to stick around because I have a feeling my opinion on this movie is going to earn me some hate from damn near every direction. I don't know. We'll see. Now, the like and dislike ratio, 37k likes versus 7.5k dislikes. But let's get to the trailer. Alright, first of all, let me just say, she is very pretty. That is our main character. If the only good thing that comes from this movie is watching her get all sweaty and roll around in the mud for a while fighting an alien, I think I'll be okay with that.
Because you all think that I can't.
Yep, got that whole rebel streak, I suppose. That can be very annoying in a character nowadays. I feel like back in the 80s, characters like that would be written in such a way that they would be kind of endearing and you would understand where they're coming from. The hope is that that's how it will be in this, but it remains to be seen, and I'm kind of afraid that instead of just having a strong female character, which everybody would be okay with, nobody would complain about that. That's why Ripley is so popular in Aliens. Can't help but feel like maybe they're gonna go overboard in showing that, oh, she's better than everybody else in this movie. She's the strongest, she's the smartest, she's the fastest. There's not a lot of subtlety in writing these days, which I believe is what most people have issues with, instead of just the underlying theme of a woman trying to be equal to a man. Look at Mulan. And I'm not talking about Disney's Mulan, I'm talking about the original story of Mulan. A woman taking up arms as a soldier. Nobody has a problem with that. Even Disney Mulan. When Disney Mulan came out, nobody had a problem with that because it was just a story being told, and it was told very well, even for an animated movie, especially for an animated movie. But with how things are written these days, how there is no subtlety in the writing, how characters, the quote-unquote strong female characters of today, are written without that subtlety, they just come across as more obnoxious than anything. I feel like we're all primed to hate something like this immediately when it's not necessarily valid, if that makes sense. It's just that these days, this kind of story is most likely gonna be ham-fisted. And it sucks, it really does. But let's keep going.
I saw a sign in the sky. I'm ready.
The animal CGI could be better. It's not the worst I've seen by any stretch, just in the last few years. It's like, I think it's serviceable. And I also can't help but wonder how much of a role the dog is going to have. Apparently he's trained with sign language. I don't know about that. Seems a bit goofy. And also, like, the dog's going to die, right? The dog's going to die. I think we all know the dog's going to die. The dog always dies. He looks like such a good boy. Oh, it's a shame he's going to die. Yeah, like I said, it's the bear CGI is serviceable. It moves with a bit of weight, probably not as realistically as you would hope for, but it looks okay. I do like how she had this whole plan that involved diving underwater and then emerging up inside of a trap so she could get the bear stuck. Doesn't seem to work out for her, however. It's also entirely possible this wasn't actually a trap, that was just her trying to escape, which would be nice. I mean, you want to see characters fail early on and then learn to overcome their failings. You don't want a character to be perfect from the get-go. But either way, either she tried to trap it and it didn't work and she almost died, or she just had to run for her life and fled to this area and almost died. Either way, I think it's a good sign that she is flawed early on. It gives me a little bit of hope that we're not going to get a woke Ghostbusters 2016 type of movie out of this. That was just cool imagery. I mean, the invisible predator lifting up a bear that it just killed. Oh, that was cool.
There's something out there. I'm coming with you.
You can't.
I'm trying to protect you.
Protect me from what?
I also like the idea that she sees something that she cannot explain and that it's unlikely that anybody will believe her, and she's trying to warn everybody, but they just don't listen because why would they really? Unless they were to assume the predator is some kind of spirit that's out there in the woods or whatever, like, because I don't think they have any real concept of space aliens.
It's time.
Man, I sure do miss the time when the Predator was actually intimidating. I really hope this is a return to that sort of thing. One of the best sci-fi alien designs ever created, in my opinion. We got the iconic laser sight there. I'm going to try to pause it at the exact right moment because I know some people online were saying that it looked like it shot a physical projectile at them in this scene, but I don't think that's the case. Yeah, we can see, I mean, it's hard to catch just by pausing it, but it's a red trail that shoots past them, so that was the plasma cannon or the plasma caster, whatever you want to call it. This one was not a projectile. Now, you do see a projectile later on, but I kind of wish that, you know, if the predators are actually based around honor and the honor of the hunt and all that, it would be cool if a predator realizes it's fighting less advanced prey, and therefore it adopts less advanced weaponry than it's used to. And there is hope that that's what's going to happen, because, again, because of what happens later on that I'm going to point out. That would be really neat to see, and I hope that's the direction they're going.
It knows how to hunt. I know how to survive.
It knows how to hunt, I know how to survive. So here's the thing. With this actress in particular, just realistically, we should not be able to see this woman overpower a predator physically. That would be 100% ridiculous. It would be more believable for her to win based on her ingenuity. You know, she sets up some kind of elaborate trap or is able to come up with a plan with her fellow warriors to kind of set forth and like team up and have kind of everybody score the kill on this thing to stop it. So that line, I know how to survive, that gives me some hope that, yeah, the goal here is literally just to survive. For her specifically, to just survive. Unfortunately, there's a line later on that we're going to see that goes against that, and it really makes me nervous about, is this going to go in the ridiculous direction of having her just defeat this thing in a one-on-one confrontation? Boy, that was a nice Mortal Kombat Scorpion maneuver there. Don't really know how I feel about that. Visually, it's cool, and that's pretty much it. I don't know how useful that would actually be fighting a predator. I can imagine her throwing one of those axes with the rope tied to her. Predator catches it, yanks her into it, and impaling her on an arm blade or something. That's what should happen, logically, but we'll see. There's the physical projectile I was talking about. Let's see if I can back this up. So at first I thought this was just a predator staff being thrown, or a javelin, and that could still very well be the case. But if you look at the back of it is wider. It's kind of flared out. Granted, it's blurry because it's in the background, but I could swear I see some fins on this thing, as if it's just a massive arrow. And going back to what I was saying earlier of hoping that Predator kind of realizes its prey is dramatically less advanced than it is, and hoping that it would adopt similar weaponry to what they use. I would love to see this thing just bust out a massive, I'm talking like Monster Hunter sized bow that it would use to shoot these ridiculously large arrows. I just think that would be awesome to see. Now this here, again, because of the kind of stories that are being told in our quote-unquote entertainment today, seeing white people in a movie with Native Americans that's centered around Native Americans, I can't help but feel like any white person in this movie is going to be instantly demonized, and they're just going to come across like each of them are mustache-twirling villains. And the thing of it is, from the Native Americans' perspective, that could very well be the case. But, you know, you would hope that things are written in such a way that you could see both sides of a conflict. But the expectation because of the kind of activists slash writers and activists slash directors that we have today, you can't help but be primed to expect the most basic, dumbed down message, which is white people equals bad. White people are evil colonizers who deserve to be murdered and brutalized. And if that's the route they go, that's just, first of all, lazy. Second of all, shitty. And third of all, it's just not something I would support. Again, bring back the nuance, bring back the subtlety. This is another thing that kind of makes me nervous about the whole white people deserve to be slaughtered thing. Now, taken on its own in isolated context, this moment in the trailer, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's badass. It's the Predator being the Predator. But you hope that the writer didn't write it this way just to have white people being slaughtered. But yeah, let's check this thing out and try to go frame by frame. It catches his axe between its wrist blades. First of all, look at this Predator design. We're going to see a bit more of it, but I love the design of this particular Predator. Its helmet seems to be mostly bone, or at the very least, it's covered in bone. And I don't think it's the skull of anything recognizable. It almost seems like it's the skull of an alien creature from a different world. Some people were speculating it was the bear skull, but it doesn't look like that to me. But yeah, you can see another white person is grabbed by the throat and pinned down. Axe gets flipped. It catches it in its hand, as opposed to just having it between its wrist blades. It's prepped. Yeah, whatever did this, I can kill it. So that very clearly states that her goal isn't just to survive. It's that she will kill it. She is capable of killing it. And that definitely goes more along the lines of what we see nowadays. But since I'm paused where I'm paused, yeah, look at this Predator design. I love the way the helmet looks. Here she's like painted up in some of the Predator's blood. Now, that thing lunging at her looked like more shitty CGI. I was actually afraid that the Predator would be entirely CGI throughout the movie. Supposedly, that's not the case. Supposedly, there is a practical suit and it's worn by a basketball player. It's just, I wonder what the ratio is between the person in the suit versus the CGI model. I seriously hope it leans much more toward the practical dude in the suit. Prey. So yeah, a lot of cool imagery. There's also a lot to be worried about if you're tired of just the general woke age that we're in. Going back to the whole colonizer thing, personally, my hope is that, our main character here would have to convince her tribe to team up with the other folks in a team effort to just take this thing down. As if, the natives take a lot of casualties from the thing, the settlers take a lot of casualties from the thing, and they have to team up to take it down, as opposed to just her single-handedly fighting it one-on-one and winning. That would be much more interesting. But I suppose we will have to wait and see how it plays out. Also, just remember, folks, you can see this thing without actually having a Hulu subscription, if you know what I mean. Now, sticking with this particular movie for a little bit longer. This is directed by Dan Trachtenberg. If you don't recognize the name, he also directed 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a movie I actually enjoyed a lot. It was very character-driven. It would have been better without the tenuous Cloverfield connection, but overall it was a film I was happy with. He also directed one episode of The Boys and one episode of Black Mirror, which happens to be my favorite episode of Black Mirror. Keep in mind, I didn't watch a lot. I watched a handful of episodes, but of the bunch, his episode Playtest was my favorite by far. So the couple of things I know him from as a director are things that I enjoyed. The Boys is the exception. Now, he clearly has a connection to Eric Kripke, the showrunner for The Boys and the original showrunner for Supernatural, and Eric Kripke claims to have seen a rough cut of Prey and said it was phenomenal. Do I trust Eric Kripke's opinion? Well, he's a successful showrunner slash producer slash sometimes writer who works in Hollywood and has worked in Hollywood for years. So no, I don't trust him. But I figure it's worth putting that out there anyway for those of you who have different opinions from mine. I know there are some people who question that there were even female Native Americans who were warriors, but just a cursory Google search leaves me kind of inclined that there were. Personally, I'm not inclined to really dig into this because I think alternate history takes should be allowed to be explored as long as it's clear that it's alternate history. I don't know, things get a bit murky there, but I'm okay with the concept, but that hinges on how well it's executed. That's my general stance on alternate history stuff. Now, am I trying to stay cautiously optimistic with this movie? Yes, I would love for the Predator franchise to get a comeback that it deserves. I can't claim to be entirely confident that this is going to be that, but I'm open to being surprised. In terms of my overall feelings on the Predator franchise, there's no question the first is the best. Objectively, the first Predator movie is the best of the entire franchise. My personal favorite is Predator 2. I just like the cast better, and I like the whole concrete jungle aspect of it. That's my preference. I kind of like Predators, the one starring Adrian Brody. Problem being that pretty much all of the important characters were miscast, in my opinion. I mean, Adrian Brody did not fit that hard-ass commando role. Topher Grace did not fit the role that he was hired for. You'd think they would have learned from when he played Venom in Spider-Man 3, but they cast him anyway. But I liked the extra glimpses we saw of the Predator culture in that movie. I loved the Predator designs in that movie. The action was pretty cool, and there were some really awesome moments in that movie. The most recent one that had Olivia Munn, I refuse to see it, truthfully. I've watched so many video reviews on it, and I mean, honestly, once you see Mahler's review on it, his Unbridled Rage, that just eviscerates it and breaks it all down, points out how there's just no logic to be found. It's like, yeah, that movie it should be erased from existence. It's a shame that the franchise just kind of died off. Granted, if the original one was the only one that existed, that would have been fine too. Just this amazing 80s sci-fi action movie that starts out as one thing and becomes something entirely different. But I don't think anybody can deny just the icon status that the Predators have. And I just wish we could return them to that former glory somehow. Whether it be with a new movie or just some incredible video game that releases and has the franchise take off in that direction, in that medium for a while. But it just doesn't seem likely. Kind of just going back to my mantra that I live by. Hope for the best, expect the worst. Because the worst is most likely what you're going to get. But thanks everybody for watching. I'm Baffled, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!